Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Master Site. My name is Adam Ballard, and this video will be going over my first game of the KC One Day. Um, it'll be Elves versus Kingdoms of Men. And before we jump into the game, my opponent's list, I have a few pictures of the venue we were playing at. So we played at the Game Cafe. It was in the greater KC area, but it's a little town called Independence, Missouri. As you can see, this is more of their like old timey downtown area of town. So it was actually a really cool venue. So you can see the storefront here, and then the store also owns this building, this store that's connected right next to it here, and that's where the gaming areas are. So they have a downstairs area, and where we played for the tournament was in the upstairs. It's just a really cool venue. So a couple pictures of the inside here. So this was into from the store front into the gaming area over here. Um, they had a variety of different things, but they had a cool little snack station with refreshments. And opposite of this, not in the picture here, they have um, a fountain drink station, so you can just kind of get some snacks, get some drinks, play there all day if you want. Throughout the day, I saw a couple D&D groups, a bunch of Magic players just coming in, getting pickup games and whatnot. So um, here's a few pictures of the a couple tables before we got going here. Um, had some really nice terrain. One of their local guys, his name was Bill, had a lot of the terrain, and then also Josh LaFoon provided some of it as well. So some good looking tables, good looking mats, and then these tables that the store has are really nice. I'm personally not a fan of the kind of the indented table where you're playing inside a little arena here. Um, the edges are thick enough where you put stuff on, but thin enough where stuff just gets knocked over. Um, or at least maybe I'm just clumsy enough where I knock stuff over onto the table. So uh, I I would like it, I think, better if there was like a more of a border or a larger like side table to put some stuff on. But they're all really cool. Again, good quality and whatnot. That's just personal preference that I don't really care for the indented part. So this is kind of a full picture of the upstairs room looking to the outward window onto the street from the other view here. As you can see, this is not the best for taking pictures. In the back here, there's um, not the best lighting inside, and then the natural lighting be on the other side of the room. There was some glares. Unfortunately, it affected a few of the pictures. I had to turn my flash on, so sorry for the quality of photos that you might be seeing here, but I did my best, and we should have good enough to get our point across here. So this was my first round opponent. This is Andrew. He is a newer player to the Kansas City group. And when I say newer, he played one game before this event. So lucky for Andrew, he got to play me his second game ever of Kings of War. So uh, Andrew is just a really great guy, great personality, fun to talk to, and he was just clearly there to have fun and get some games in, roll some dice. So he was playing Kings of Men. It's not his army. Bill, one of the guys that was providing a large portion of the terrain, provided several armies for many of the Kansas City guys that were at the event here. There was a total of 12 players at the event, and I believe 6 or 7 of the players were from Kansas City, and that was their first ever Kings of War event. So, really great turnout. Great to see a lot of guys that haven't been out there playing before, and just some really good looking armies across the board here. So hopefully, with getting their feet wet, they'll want to come out and play in some more events here. So uh, Andrew here is playing the Kingdoms of Men army. Just a really good looking army here too. A lot of the individually based infantry models, but um, it's clearly it was a carryover from GW for most of these models. But uh, Andrew himself is a former fantasy player. He um, played in 8th edition, and then hasn't hasn't been playing much rank and flank type games, and then got back into it here with Kings of War. So from what I talked to him about, it sounds like he's excited to kind of keep going and enjoys the game quite a bit. So let's go ahead and go over Andrew's list here. Like I said, he was playing Kingdoms of Men, and he didn't make the list. The army was provided to him by Bill, so um, he just kind of played with what was given to him here. So to start off, he has a regiment of Shield Wall. That I believe is the one with the banner here. And then he has a horde of pole arms. Those are these guys back here. He has a spear phalanx regiment right here. All of these with Indomitable Will, of course. And then he has 2 regiments of foot guard, which are situated right there. 2 troops of fanatics in the back here. Then he has 2 regiments of knights, both of them with Indomitable Will, and one of them with the Jesse's Boots of Striding. Then he has a regiment of mounted scouts with the black powdered weapons. Bill had only given him a troop, so we found him a regiment base and just put him on there. You'll see when we started the game, you'll see that there's only a troop sitting out there. It wasn't until like the second or third turn that I realized that it was actually a regiment, and we just fixed it at that point. So he has a giant, and something interesting we found out. The list he had did not have the Slayer or Rampager options selected, but it still allowed him to insert the giant into the army list, which I thought was odd feature to have. That they're both free upgrades. You should pick one, but it doesn't require you to pick one. It allows you to continue without it. So I uh, not having it listed, I told him Slayer's probably your best bet, and as you'll see, that's the type of units the Giant ended up facing anyway. So wanted him to get some use out of it, even if he didn't have it selected in the army. So then he has an army standard bearer. That's going to be this guy, mounted and has the loot. He has a wizard that is also mounted and has Bane Chant 2 and Lightning Bolt 3. Then back here he has General on Pegasus, and he then finishes it off with the Outlaw formation. So you'll see 2 troops of bowmen, and then this guy here is the brigand. So, um, yeah, all in all, it's a Kingdom men list that's focusing on infantry. Unfortunately, Kingdom's men I don't think are in a great spot right now in competitive Kings of War, and I think infantry builds especially struggle. So going into this, knowing the list that I'm going up against, as well as the player being their second game, it it was more of a game where I tried to help Andrew out with just kind of learning tips and tricks, tactics throughout the game. So let's go ahead and kind of jump right into it. So this was our battlefield. So we have forest on the left, forest in the top center. We have two obstacles on the left here, one on my side, one in front of his lines, and then one on the far right. We also had one in the middle on my side. This was a tower building, so impassable building here, and then hill, which this don't have a good picture of it, but this was actually a hobbit house. So if you looked at it from the point of view of like this building, it's entry to the round door hobbit hole. This is the chimney. So it was a really cool piece of terrain, but we used it as a hill. Obviously, a hill here, and then two pieces of flat fields as well. The scenario we were playing was Plunder. So we had 5 tokens across the center line. I declared the one behind the hill over here a 2-pointer, and then Andrew declared the one on top of this hill as 2 points as well. So the other 3 being 1-point tokens. And then deployment. Andrew had a decent number of drops over me. I believe I picked sides, so I had to drop first. Um, really, I didn't put a whole lot of thought into the deployment. I was trying to kind of focus and without playing the army for Andrew, trying to kind of help him. One thing that he tried to do was put all 3 inspiring over here on the left flank, and I was like, you have only 3 sources of inspiring. This whole side of your battle line doesn't have any. You probably want to drop one over there unless you have a real good reason not to. But he definitely appreciated it and put him over there. So again, I'm trying not to play the army for him or tell him what to do, but just providing suggestions and letting him make his own decisions. So deployments, we'll go across my battle line first here. So off to the far left, I have my Drakon Lord. I have one of my Silver Breeze regiments. I have a regiment of Drakon Riders. I have my troop or regiment Battle Cats. Then I have my next Silver Breeze Cav. I've already scouted my Glade Stalkers up here. I have the horde of Seaguard in the middle. My 2 Bolt Throwers behind. I have the Alchemist Curse Wizard right next to them. The Horde of Drakons with J Boots back here. Another Battle Cat over here. The Brutal Regiment of Drakons on the far right, and behind them is Nimue. And then Andrew has his knights with the J Boots out on the far left, his general on Pegasus. He puts all of the outlaw formation right here. He has his wizard with Lightning Bolt Banechant behind them. He then has his 2 troops of fanatics, followed up with his shield wall, and then his horde of polearms. over to the right hand side, he has his 2 regiments of foot guard. He has the regiment of spear phalanx. Um, he has his army standard bearer with the loot and another knight unit. Then this, again, was supposed to be a regiment of the gunners, or the mounted sergeants with black powder weapons, and then the giant behind. So I won the roll off for first turn, and um, being a loot token scenario, I took it. So uh, some of the tactics behind my deployment here. A couple of the things that I did focus on was specifically my battle cats here. I have the ability, if I get first turn, to pick up one of the 2-pointed tokens. That does put me on top of the hill and susceptible to shooting, but uh, I I thought it was still going to be a good idea to at least threaten that. Otherwise, in general, before the game even starts, my game plan is just to abuse my range. So I have a lot of shooting, and most of his army is speed 5, and it is defense 3 to 4, pretty much across the board. The only things that are going to be um, difficult to shoot are the cav units and the giants, but uh, one of the few targets that the bolt throwers are actually going to get shots at are at the giant, and they're they're built to kind of take out defense 5. I don't plan on killing it with shooting, but at least soften it up and get into combat with it. Um, Otherwise, the only other kind of conscious deployment was putting my Alchemist Curse caster here. My goal is to run him up, utilize the impassable terrain of the building, and get angles to shoot my spell off against these slower infantry units, and hopefully get some shots off into the cav or even the giant later on. So. Otherwise, I put stuff on the battle line, and we're just gonna have some fun, see how it goes. Take it kind of easy for this first game, and try and give Andrew a good game and a fun game, as much as it can be when you have infantry running across the board against elves. So, like I said, I won first turn, so this was my movement up. I moved up just slightly with most things across the board. Only things moving up quickly are the Alchemist Curse Caster, as anticipated, keeping out of charge range, but avoiding any cover penalties on this unit. And then also the Battle Cats ran up here. Otherwise, on the left flank, I kept out of charge range of the Pegasus and the Knights. So my short bow's only target were actually his knights. I wanted to get to the bowmen, but I would have had to give charges to one or both of these units, and I just didn't want to do that. Yeah, so very conservative starting. Like I said, use my range to my advantage. So we have shooting and basically just everything shot straightforward. These Silver Breeze only shots were at the Fanatics here, and then I start trying to pluck off some wounds through this shooting lane as well. So into the turn, I didn't kill any units with my shooting, which I thought I would. When the Silver Breeze here shot through the gap at these Fanatics, I did like 7 wounds, so really good shooting phase for me. And they're only a -11, so my thought, and they weren't inspired, so I thought a 4 once is good enough. So I took cover shots, and I had an angle into these Fanatics from the Glade Stalkers. And put a few wounds on them. I ended up rolling a 3 for nerve. Didn't get this. I put a decent amount of wounds onto the regiment here. I wasn't really planning on killing them. And then my bolt throwers actually had one of them had a clear shot, and the other one was a cover shot into the spear phalanx unit, um, which at this point um, I was gonna have cover against the giant because I kind of moved poorly with the dragons, but I think shooting the spear phalanx is actually a better choice at this point. Um, the dragons can't charge that unit in the front. I don't want to charge that unit. I want to pick it up with shooting. So um, I thought these were just better shots in general. So put a few wounds on them. Call it a day. Over on the left, I think I put 3 or 4 wounds on the knights, which I'm really happy to do that with a single Silver Breeze unit. Um, so they're already getting a little bit softer to potentially die to just a single charge at this point. And I know he's gonna have to, he's gonna have to push up, and I, kind of encourage him and tell him, yeah, it stinks, but you gotta put yourself out there, even if it doesn't feel like it's gonna work. And he kind of half committed to that. So he moves the knights up well within threat range of everything on the left here. And his Pegasus came up behind and uh, again try to help him out and show him positioning wise how he can block off my Drakon from charging him if he's close enough to his unit and if the model can't fit. So again, just trying to show him some basic tactics to start off here. And then the rest of his stuff, I think, I didn't tell him what to do, but ultimately in the middle, he only moved up 5 inches. If you're watching Andrew, I think one thing that definitely should have happened is these guys should have just ran forward as fast as they could. Um, and I know over here it was a little bit more maneuvering that needed to be done, so you can't just have to double straight forward. But like these knights not being, um, they basically haven't moved from their starting position back here. Maybe they moved a little bit forward, but you kind of need these knights to push up and to threaten as well. So it's one of those things where it's a bad situation, but this is probably the best move in the bad situation. So, but this includes his shooting phase where he cast lightning bolt, all his bowman shots, and outriders shot into the troop of the battle cats and picked him off. So I had to drop the token, and I chose to drop it as far away from his units, as close to my side as I could, under the base of the battle cats that were here. And then I think he whiffed with the outriders. I still get cover from this obstacle. Um, so I don't think the outriders did much of anything. I'm pretty sure they needed 6s to hit. So, um, so he doesn't have a whole lot of shooting, but I expected it to do a little bit. So my turn 2, on the left-hand side here, I decide to take just my Drakon Lord into the unit here. And then I position in such a way where his general on Pegasus could not see my Drakon regiment that's sitting behind this building here. You can't really see it, but it's there. So my thought with this is he already has 3 or 4 wounds on this knight unit. The Drakon has Rampager. I'm going to strip his Thunderous at the very least. I know he has Indomitable Will, so he's going to, unless I break him, which is very unlikely, he's going to countercharge me, but without any crushing, and I strip his Thunderous in my defense 5, I liked my odds with that just to hold this unit up, potentially take it out, and just 2 turns of just using this guy. This also prevents the double charge against him from the Pegasus Lord, because of the Pegasus would have to be on the inside of the unit, and the board edge is preventing him from making room. So with this, I do give him a charge onto the Silver Breeze, but I have the counter charge with the Dracons to the flank of that unit. So it is a little bit of a bait, and this also allows for the Silver Breeze to get clear shots into this troop of bowmen. Just squeaking through the forest edge here in this unit, I was able to see over half of the front. So otherwise, I just kind of straighten out and keep my line here. I didn't really need to move a whole lot in the center. On the right, I go ahead and push up with the battle cats, who actually came off of the hill. So I was able to come off the hill, hit the corner of his unit here, and avoid getting hindered by both these pieces of terrain. So battle cats are actually surprisingly good in combat. Hitting on 4s with 9 attacks and having vicious, and then thunderous one coming off the hill. I was pretty happy with 80 points of output with that. So, and then this Drakon unit came up, picked up the token here that was on the right hand side. The Drakons just slid over, allowing for bolt throwers to have more of a clear shot. And obviously, Drakons can kind of take their pick up here. And then moving over to where I have a clear shot onto these guys here. And then it's not a great picture, but one thing I did look at is the way in which this unit would have to pivot to get around the building. My intent for putting this guy here was to prevent them from completing that charge. And honestly, even if I allowed the mage to get hit by the cav, it really puts them in a bad spot where they have a Drakon horde, the regiment, they possibly even have the Sea Guard. It might be a little far for the Sea Guard, but either way. But I am out of the front arc of the foot guard here, so. And then Nimue popped her one-time flying ability, so she hopped over Cloak of Death, and then got to Fireball at the unit that was sitting right here. So this was a little bit of a late picture, so there's some units that are gone. So his turn, there was the Spear Phalanx that was here. That got shot off. I believe I actually utilized the Sea Guard as well as the Fireball from Nimue coming over here into that unit. I put some more wounds onto this foot guard unit. That one was undamaged. And then I cleaned up the foot guard unit out of the middle, as well as the troop of fanatics. I put a couple more wounds on them and picked them up. And then I did, I think, like 3 wounds to the bowmen from the Silver Breeze. So I was hoping to do more against a defense 3 unit. I was hoping to pick them up, but it was not meant to be. So the shooting phase in general is just fine, pretty good. It's not a make or break to pick that unit up. So after combat, I believe the Battle Cats did 4 or 5, I think 5 wounds, because 1 came from Nimue's Cloak of Death here. So puts this regiment up to 6. I did not get a waiver. And then the other combat over here, the Drakon did enough damage and wavered the Knights. However, Andrew uses his Indomitable Will to shake it off and get a counter charge this turn. So this was kind of uh, everything for Andrew's movement except for the Pegasus, which he's moving now, which will end up about right here, out of line of sight of the Dracons and whatnot. So this is something that Andrew did by himself. I didn't tell him about it. I didn't really even talk about the options he has with that guy. He just he said he had been watching some battle reports, and it sounded like he has seen what flyers can do, and he does not like the idea of them getting behind him. So he went ahead and did that himself. So moved 20 inches, pivoted to face towards the center of the lines here. So uh, it being a general on wing Pegasus or on Pegasus, only has 4 attacks. Not many people play the general, but I was looking at it. I think it's 135 points, and with only 4 attacks, and I think it just has crushing 1. It's not that scary. I'd really, really rather see it be a general on wing beast for like 60 more points. They're just a much bigger threat that has to be dealt with or addressed. Um, as we'll see here, he does get good position with that, and I don't really want to turn and shoot at it. With now him putting pressure in the middle here with all these units pushing up onto the hill, and these knights are coming in towards the center as well. So I don't really have the ability to turn and shoot at this flanker coming in. So I kind of have to ignore it at this point and just say whatever it's going to do, it's going to do. Over to the right flank here, he kills off the battle cats and overruns to this position. Um, and he does pretty good damage over here. So he does 7 wounds to my Drakon Lord, and he rolls like a 10 for the first nerve check, and so I'm kind of sweating over here, like, well, that's not supposed to happen. But on the reroll, he rolls low, doesn't get a waiver. So that Drakon Lord's gonna be ready for round 2, and taking that many wounds, I decide I need some support. So on to my turn 3. So in my turn 3, this is the start of the board, and then this is after movement. So let's go ahead and start on the left flank here. So again, before and after. So before, I go ahead and charge in the Silver Breeze here. With their positioning, they end up on the far left-hand side because leader point to leader point, that is how it works. So this is definitely something that I purposefully do. Oh, let's go back. So planning for. So this is something that I recommend people look at is um, last turn when my Drakon Lord charged in. This Nimble Cav unit has the ability to essentially position wherever they want in this area. So the best way to do it is to actually line up the leader points. If they are exactly equal, then you get to choose which side you go on. So in this case, I choose to go on to the left-hand side and push the Drakon Lord towards the center here. It doesn't quite get me onto this token, so this token's still sitting there in the forest. I'm not really worried about picking up tokens at this point yet. Just need to be in general vicinity is all. And then in the center, I decide the horde here. It's best if we just go into combat with it. So I was in the flank with the Horde of Sea Guard. I will be hindered, but the Glade Stalkers obviously have Pathfinders, so they just come into the front as well. My Drakon, regiment that was sitting behind this hill here decides to hit the regiment behind. And then this troop of fanatics already has 3 wounds on them, so I'm planning to just shoot them. Again, positioning to where this Pegasus will be in the front. I'm okay with a front charge from 4 attacks. It's not the end of the world. So the idea here being that if I don't think I kill this regiment on averages, but I think I shoot off the the troop. I think I kill off the horde, and then the idea is we'll turn and face over here, except for the horde, who's going to have to address the knights. And then I also feel like I should have a good chance of killing these knights, so the Silver Breeze can actually turn around and face over here as well. So essentially, try to pin in his general on Pegasus after taking out a few units here. And then over on the right, I do a little crisscross action. So I take the regiment of Dracons into the flank. I drop the token first. So fly over into the flank of the foot guard, and then I take the horde into the giant. The giant ate a couple bolt thrower shots last turn, and Nimwe's Cloak of Death, so it's already up to 4 wounds. With Nimwe's Cloak of Death again, it'll be at 5 wounds. So I pop the J boots and go in. I feel like that's a favorable fight for me at this point. So it ends up looking like this. We'll have a better picture of this here shortly, but there is a gap here to where I can hit the knights with the Alchemist Curse. And then I have 1 clear shot and 1 unclear shot into the knights with the bolt throwers. So that's my shooting targets for the center here. And then, as I said, the only other shooting is at the Fanatic troop. And Nimue came around the giant over here, put another Cloak of Death wound here, and we're going to fireball these guys to try and just pick them up this turn. And that's what we do. So we clear up the regiment of Outriders or Mounted Scouts on the far right for shooting. Shoot through that gap here. Again, just able to see over half the base with that positioning. And then our shooting here picks up the troop of fanatics that was sitting here. Again, I'm not actually. I haven't picked up this token yet. I think the fanatics were a little bit too close. I didn't try to pick up the token at this point. So combat happens, and we kill the unit that was we were in the flank of the foot guard, and then sidestepped towards the top of the board here. Idea being that his knights, when they go charge, I was trying to get a better angle for a line of sight, just in case I wanted to bring the regiment of Dracons into them. And then, yep, we pop the horde in the middle, Seaguard in the flank, and the regiment of Gladestalkers do their job. Turn to face out to the knights here. Turn to face because we have that pesky general on Pegasus, so make sure it's a front charge if he wants to come in. And then on the left, we roll Snake Eyes. So I got him up to, it looks like 11 wounds onto the knights. So it wasn't a true Snake Eyes, but he had already used his Indomitable Will, so a waiver, rolling a 3 would have been enough for a waiver. And then I just pick him up the next turn. But roll the Snake Eyes. Happens. So we're in a pretty good position overall at this point, and so it's not gonna make or break anything for us. And then we, as expected, we don't pick up the regiment of Shield Guard. I forget the name of them. They're the just average guys. So we eat another charge from them. So his movement, he comes in with the knights into the phalanx. I told him about phalanx. He kind of is like, it sucks, but at this point, there's really nothing else he can do. So he comes on in. He's going to give him Bane Chant from the loot he has from the BSB, and then he countercharged on the left and killed the Drakon Lord. So um, he then sidesteps closer to the board edge to prevent these guys being in his flank. They're supposed to be essentially just flush, but our units were overhanging off the base, so we bounced them just a little bit to represent or show where they line up. And I forgot to mention, I didn't pop the giant when I came in over there. I rolled exceptionally poorly with the horde of dragons. I think I only did like 6 wounds. And I think I rolled a snake eyes against him as well, so it didn't really matter either way. But he had fury. He was going to countercharge unless I pick him up. So yeah. So this is how the board looks going into my turn 4. Um, or I'm sorry, this is I forgot. His Pegasus was in the rear of this Drakon unit, so he brought him into the rear, and these guys countercharged into the front. He failed to break the Drakons, and in fact, I think they were not wavered even. So a little unlucky, but again, the Pegasus only having crushing 1, only having 4 attacks. That's 12 attacks in my rear at crushing 1, and then 12 attacks in the front, hitting on 4s. With he Bane chanted the knights to try and guarantee the kill against the Drakon Lord. So he didn't Bane chant the foot guard here, or the shield watch. Sorry. So the Drakons took a handful of wounds, but didn't even get wavered. So yeah, this is my beginning of 4 now, and so I countercharge, and then I take the rear charge against his general on Pegasus. I decide that because I'm not wavered, I believe that that's going to be enough to waver or kill. I think I might have wavered them so they already used their Indomitable Will. Otherwise, I probably would have brought the Gladestalkers into the flank just to guarantee the kill. But at this point, I felt pretty confident with them, so I took the Gladestalkers into the Wizard. Um, it's a long shot. I do have Thunderous coming off the hill, but so if I kill them, I potentially overrun and get into the Bowman. But at this point, it was just more or less a cleanup for everything. I expect the Giants going to die. I expect the Knights here, who already had 6 wounds, are going to be. I hope they're going to die, and then pick up everything on the left, because I didn't countercharge here. I slid the Silver Breeze over so that I could pick up the token. And my leader point is still out of the forest, so I have clear shots into these guys. All I need to do really is 1 wound, and then a 4 will break them. That is where we're going, and then we move over to shoot at the Army Standard Bearer, which is the only thing outside of combat in range for bolt throwers and this guy. And then Nimue decided to just start running and come over here. And then this regiment of Drakons, I had the rear charge here. I could have charged into the individual, but at this point, being turn 4, I decided that everything in the center and left is in a good spot, so I decided it's time to start picking up the tokens. So I pivoted him, and he's nimble and whatnot, so I was able to sit on this token and then angle it to where 10-inch move straight forward would land me on this token for the next turn. Um, and my thought is, even if I snake eyes and don't kill the giant, he probably kills me on the return, and then I have my mage, my Nimue, and then 2 bolt throwers to shoot at him next turn. So I felt pretty confident in not having to threaten him with something to charge the next turn. Also, I forgot to mention the giant did countercharge. He did get like 6 wounds, but was unable to waver, so my Dracons are going back into him. On the left, we kill the knights with our shooting from the Gladestalkers. And then after combat, we kill the Shield Watch and Overrun. We put 9 wounds on the Pegasus, but I don't think I killed it this turn. I think he's wavered. Yeah, he was wavered, and he's one of the few units that doesn't have an Indomitable Will, so he's just gonna sit there. And then I failed to break the wizard. In fact, I don't even waver the wizard, so it's going to countercharge me this next turn. And I do kill the knights over here. I also killed the giant and turned to face. So on his turn, so bottom 4, he decides he's had enough of this Alchemist Curse business, so he just charges my Alchemist Curse wizard with his Army Standard Bearer with 1 wound. I think it's a good play, honestly. Like, at this point, got nothing to lose, so go for it. And this is how the board looks at the end of his turn. So beginning of my 5. Yeah, not much left. He did not put a wound on me here, and all he did was reform to face over here and countercharge. Did not put a wound over here. He focused all his fire onto the Gladestalkers. They're up to a good amount of damage at this point. They had taken shooting throughout the game here, little plink shots every once in a while, so I think they're sitting on like 7, 8, 9 wounds. So they are definitely within kill range, and I don't have any inspiring. My one source of inspiring left is Nimue all the way on the other side, because the Drakon Lord had already died. So he kept shooting at him, but unfortunately the bowman hitting on 5s, just didn't really do a lot over the course of the game, it felt like. So and his character hits on 4s and has piercing 1, but he was rolling exceptionally poorly with him throughout the game too. So my turn 5, as planned, I move the Drakons up to get the tokens. I don't even. There's nothing that this horde of Drakons is going to do on turn 6 or even 7, so I just leave them over here. Move up Nimue to get a fireball, withdraw, bounce back with the mage, so that way we can Alchemist Curse and shoot some bolt throwers there. I decide not to even charge the general on Pegasus because I hit him better outside of combat when it's just a front charge. So I shoot on 4s with elite versus hitting on 4s without elite in combat. And then I just kind of move these guys up. His wizard was yielding, so I charged past him and hit the flank of the bowman there. The Drakons hit the individual, and then I'm going to shoot the bowman at this point. So everything I shoot at dies. The only thing he had left was his individual. I wasn't able to kill him. Did not waver him. So this we were running pretty short on time. So at this point, this was just going to be our last turn. Pretty much no matter what happened. So like I said, my regiment here was sitting on quite a few wounds. So he decided he's just going to charge him. Yep, get the points where you can. All he needed to do was one or two wounds and roll like a four twice, I think it was. And the character just completely whiffed and did not get a single hit. And so it was just not Andrew's day, not a great game dice wise for Andrew at all. So, but all in all, like I say, Andrew was a great guy. We were running a little behind on the tournament at this point, and we were kind of rushing to go get lunch. So I didn't get a, talk to Andrew too much about the game after the fact. Um, but I do think that Andrew, being his second game of Kings of War ever, did really well, understood basic concepts of Kings of War, and um, really showed that he has a good grasp on the game. I think that after playing, uh, several more games, getting more familiar with a single list, even writing his own list, I think that he's going to be a very good player in the future. So I really hope to see him some more. And like I said, he's just a great sport. And little spoiler alerts, but Andrew did end up winning best sports at the event here overall. So he was definitely a joy to play. And even though this was kind of a kick in the teeth here as far as a battle goes, he just had a smile the whole time and was having fun. So props to Andrew. Great game. Would play you anytime, bud. And I hope that we do get to play again, as you gain some more experience and play with the list that you've written yourself. Really looking forward to see how you progress. So in the end, I end up picking up all the tokens. So this was this tournament. They're doing a blackjack scoring. So I had all the tokens. I killed everything but a 75-point character. So I killed 22, 25. And my dead pile here is in the bottom right. So I'll move my head there. But so he killed my Lord on Drakon and my two Battle Cats. So I think that came out to be 400 points or maybe just shy of that. At this point, I'm sitting at 20 points, 21 points. Big win for the first game. And we were off to lunch, had to do something quick. So I found this little hot dog place called Up Dog down the street, and it was really good. Um, so that's where I went for lunch and hustled back. Um, for my game two. So uh, that's where we're at. So I'll get the game two out as quickly as I can. It'll probably be later this week. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching. And if you haven't, please watch the intro. And I hope that you come back for game two. So thanks, guys.